For some of you, the steps I'm going to mention in this video might sound very, very weird or abstract. And one of the reasons they might be experienced as so is because before we go about teaching a subject ourselves, we should actually ground ourselves in ideas we're teaching. And there are very few of us who are actually able to embody the idea of a conscious teacher these days, but I think that's the approach we should strive for. With that in mind, I suggest that teachers should be the first ones to move in the direction of awakening in our society and distinguishing what is real from what is imaginary, so we can pass that on to our students from a place of real experience. So the 3 steps towards conscious education as I see them are: 1, promote and encourage the I don't know position. This position gives rise to wonder. Without the sense of wonder and curiosity, we can't feel fulfillment with life. Instead, assuming we should know everything, we turn each other into memory sticks meant to store information. In case relevant information is not found, we feel stressed out and somewhat hollow. When I went to school, the system was based on teaching children to minimize the number of mistakes. Their whole approach was boiling down to avoiding mistakes at all costs. We were given marks based on the number of mistakes we had made. We were assessed on that basis. And as a result of that, many of our generation survivors have grown into adults who are scared stiff of mistakes. We're literally terrified of making fools of ourselves. When we're pressed for an answer, we'd rather speak some nonsense pretending we know the answer to that question, rather than acknowledge that we actually have no idea how things work, because we think that if we admit to not knowing, we won't get accepted or will be seen as incompetent. And this fear has been trained and gets trained when we severely focus on not making mistakes. In a conscious education system that raises individuals in an awakened society, this kind of approach should be replaced. 2, teach students to question everything. Things written in a book, things other people say, things teachers say, things their peers say, and most importantly, even though that might be really triggering, the things that we say. You might experience a need to ask a question at this point: won't my students turn into some pretentious skeptics if I implement this approach? And the answer is no, provided that you teach them to question themselves, including the attitudes they take and assumptions they make. To introduce healthy questioning to your classroom, you may want to experiment with the process titled The Work by Byron Katie, or just get your students to do self-inquiry. But before you do that, don't forget to do that yourself. 3, encourage direct experience and observation. Back to my personal experience, when I went to school, we were granted the bestest marks when we were able to memorize some information from the book and reproduce it in the most accurate manner. Can you see, honestly, why this needs to go? I do agree that we need some bare basics to function in society we find ourselves in, but that does not mean that we should trust the so-called facts that we're presented with blindly. It's okay to validate things for ourselves directly, and we can do that. There are certain instruments that allow us to do that. For instance, we grow up assuming that we know how emotions function. However, most of us have never had the direct experience of where our emotions come from and why they arise from there. Dismantling this web of beliefs is a crucial step we should take to our happiness. The earlier we coax our students into exploring their inner and outer sensations and approach the object and each other for what we are, not through the concepts, the filter of concepts we think that we are, the earlier we learn to do that ourselves, the better. I really recommend awareness training and mindfulness practice. Exploring common sense beliefs, quote unquote, is another solid practice. Like when you investigate whether it's true that most people are evil and after you, or that people are selfish and that we're just selfish animals who just want to have sex and eat, or that just everyone seems to be successful for your exception, and so on. Those would have to be the 3 steps to take to convert your classroom environment into a healthier dynamic. You can see how everything I've said fits with your teaching method, and leave me a comment below sharing the specific techniques that you like to use in order to teach being in our highly conceptual world. please give me a like and subscribe to my channel because it helps me keep this going, and I'll talk to you again very soon.